Who is this superhero? Sarge? No. Rosemary, the telephone operator? No.
Timmy,
the mild-mannered janitor?
Hello everyone, Timmy Cochran here. I got a comment here I'd like to talk about. And a gentleman told me on one of my videos, it makes more sense to believe that Revelation was written in around 70 AD. The destruction of the temple at that time was monumental and akin to our 9/11. John would have surely mentioned this destruction had it already occurred when he authored Revelation. Had he not, it would have been akin to today's historians omitting the fact that commercial jet airliners were used to murder 3,000 people in New York during the 21st century. And this opinion here is basically lifted straight from Hanegraaff, as you can see in this article here. I think about the second paragraph down, Hank says this. And I've heard Hank say this in this article and other articles on the radio and so forth. Folks, John wasn't a historian writing a history. He was a prophet relating to us a vision he experienced on Patmos. Why would he interrupt that and start talking about the fulfillment of an unrelated prophecy? There is no reason for that. But I already answered this pretty much in a video, Hank Hanegraaff Woulda, Coulda, Shoulda, where he says, well, John should have mentioned the fulfillment of AD 70 if he wrote the apocalypse in 95. And unfortunately, the audio on that video has been turned off. I was using a Primus psalm in the background, and you can still watch the video if you like. You can get the gist of what I said by watching it, but I'll just go over again what I said there in this video. And basically what we have is, in history, we know that John lived up to the time of Trajan. And Irenaeus mentions this twice. The first time, he says, Christ still fulfilled the office of a teacher, even as the gospel and all the elders testify, those who were conversant in Asia with John, the disciple of the Lord, affirming that John conveyed to them that information, and he remained among them up to the times of Trajan. That's in Irenaeus Against Heresies, Book 2, Chapter 22. And on another occasion, Irenaeus says this, the church in Ephesus, founded by Paul, and having John remaining among them permanently until the times of Trajan, is a true witness of the tradition of the apostles. And Irenaeus says that in Against Heresies, Book 3, Chapter 3. Now, the fact that John lived among the believers in Ephesus up to the time of Trajan is mentioned also by Polycrates of Ephesus, and he says this, for in Asia also great lights have fallen asleep, which shall rise again on the day of the Lord's coming, when he shall come with glory from heaven, and shall seek out all the saints. Among these are Philip, one of the 12 apostles, who fell asleep in Hierapolis, and his 2 aged virgin daughters, and another daughter who lived in the Holy Spirit and now rests at Ephesus, and, moreover, John, who was both a witness and a teacher, who reclined upon the bosom of the Lord, and, being a priest, wore the sacerdotal plate, he fell asleep at Ephesus. And Polycarp in Smyrna, who was a bishop and martyr, and Thracius, bishop and martyr from Yemenia, who fell asleep in Smyrna. And that's Polycrates of Ephesus, cited by Eusebius in his History of the Ecclesia, Book 5, Chapter 24. Now, the reason I mention this is this causes a problem for Hank Hanegraaff and what he's trying to argue. And here is a list of Roman emperors, I include Julius Caesar at the top. He wasn't an emperor of the Roman Empire, of course, but I went ahead and included him anyway in this list here. And so we know that John lived up to this point here, Caesar Trajan. Now, if the apocalypse had been fulfilled back at this point here, then now we have a real question. Why would all this time pass without John telling anyone, hey, you guys, my apocalypse had been fulfilled? There is no trace whatsoever in the early church that people thought Revelation had been fulfilled, that the Great Tribulation had occurred. And that's a real problem for Preterism. They want to teach that the Great Tribulation is fulfilled, yet apparently none of the early church happened to notice this. That's a problem, folks. You preterists out there, that is a serious problem that deserves a serious answer. And the problem is compounded by the fact that John lived until the time of Trajan. So John didn't tell anybody that his apocalypse had been fulfilled, I guess. This is the kind of problem Hank needs to deal with, and preterists. We want an answer to this problem. This is a death knell for preterism, and we want an answer.